Welcome everybody, I'm Lizzie Brooks from Lizzie Brooks Yoga and Fitness. Welcome to mindful weight training and yoga fusion. So I think it's really important to put the word mindful into our weight training because a lot of times some folks are lifting weights or they try to lift weights without form or without the breath or without taking into consideration kind of their body's own needs, and it can be problematic. So we'll be mindful, we're gonna work hard, we're also going to get flexibility in with this, breath work, full body. So come on and join me, grab a couple of different sizes of weights. If you only have one, that's fine. I'll give modifications. If you'd rather use soup cans or no weight at all and just do the movements with the arms, that's great too. Thank you so much, and please hit like and subscribe and we can get started. Okay, welcome. So let's prepare the body a little bit more for the work that we're going to do. Take your hips maybe onto a blanket or a towel. If you don't have that, that's okay. And just lengthen the spine and come into the breath. So the breath is a layer of support. That's the way I want you to think about it. And it's a layer of support on all levels, even physical. So sometimes we think about it more like an emotional thing. We're breathing, we're calming down, but also physical. It changes the shape of your torso. It changes it displaces organs as you inhale. So we can, without getting too much into that, we can use that when we're doing our work today. Soften it all, lengthen the spine. Deep inhale and sigh out. Bring the hands to the heart and set your intention for the work and the opening that you're about to do. So let's do each thing that we're doing and do it well, meaning showing up and being in that thing that you're doing at that moment, doing it well. Once you have an intention for this practice, we'll inhale fully, sigh out, and inhale for maybe an Om. Inhale. Shake off all the clutter, and we'll come to an all fours position. So we're gonna work stabilizing and work through flexion and extension here. And I don't want you to sag down so much that you feel a collapse at the lumbar. So come to all fours, and you're just gonna pick up one knee and round it in, and pick it up and round it in. So this might be tiny little movement. We're just increasing some blood flow, increasing some spinal movement. This is also getting into the shoulders and the pelvis. One more time, round in. And put that knee down, stretch it back for a child's pose. Walk the arms a little more forward, accentuate that length through the side body, lengthen the spine back, inhale, and exhale. Rising to all fours. Organize yourself so that you're not collapsed, but you're nice long and supported by the organs drawing towards the spine. Left knee back, inhale, exhale, round. So the range of movement is really up to what feels right and safe to you. And you're not overlifting. So I don't want you to collapse here and drop the heart and draw the shoulder blades towards the back and let go of the belly. It's more stable than that. 2 more times. Last one. Lower the knee down, this time either child's pose or downward dog. If you need to get off the wrist, choose child's pose. Soften the neck, so we really want to make sure we don't take the brunt of the work into the neck. Inhale and exhale. Lower slowly down to the knees. And we're going to walk the hands forward enough that when the pelvis comes forward, it's not down to the floor and it's not back over the knees, but rather kind of a little bit in between. And draw the organs towards the spine. Breathe here, stabilizing. So we're really working to stabilize through the depth of the core. And now we'll add some movement. So if it's too much, just stay here and hold. If you're ready, right arm reaches up. Exhale, hips draw back, cross the midline over to the left side of your left leg. Reach back and forward with the pelvis coming forward, hand forward, and then put it down. We'll try that on the other side. I know it's a little weird. Rome wasn't built in a day. Take your time. Left hand forward. Exhale, hips draw back. Cross the left arm to the outside of the right knee. Reach it forward with the pelvis forward. Exhale, down. Again, reach right arm forward. Cross the midline hips back. Open the shoulder. Reach it forward. Work the core and shoulder. Take the hand down. Last one. Arm forward, cross the midline underneath you to the right side. That's good for the brain. Reach it forward, pelvis a little bit forward, and hand down. Child's pose or downward facing dog. Just increasing the blood flow a little bit, preparing the joints. Soften that neck again. Lower the knees down to your blanket or your towel, and then let's grab our 5-pound or lower weights. Or again, no weights, as I said before. Come up to your high kneeling position. So you want to feel stable here, like the knees are pretty much below the sitting bones and the ankles aren't rolling out or in, but kind of straight back, or tops of the feet come down. If you tuck your toes, that might help your kneecaps stabilize if you tend to slide over them a lot. From here, take your arms forward, and we're just doing a hold for a moment. So we're taking that weight forward, which is going to make our core stabilize differently because we're holding weight in front of us. The elbows are roughly 90 degrees. And from here, activate your inner thighs a little bit. So let's say 10 to 20%. Stay either here or reach your right arm forward and back to where it started. Left arm forward and back. Now, doesn't have to be shoulder height. It can be lower than that. Or you can definitely take it up to shoulder height if you like. So even 5 pounds is a lot. So this is a very functional movement that we kind of use in our daily lives, taking an arm forward and bringing it back, maybe grabbing something and bringing it back with weight, right? So it wouldn't be done exactly like this, for sure. That would be very robotic. I need the peanut butter, right? But still, functional nonetheless. And one more each side. Make sure, again, the pelvic floor is a little supporting and the inner thighs too. I'm going to turn towards you for this one. Keep the knees as they are, because guess what? We're getting extra because we're working our glutes and our hamstrings because we're in a squat. We're going to rotate the elbows out to the sides and back. So we're still working that 90-degree position, coming into the shoulders now a little bit differently. These flies are one of my least favorite. So guess what? We've got to do it. That means I'm probably weaker within this movement and in these areas. We got 2 more only. And 1 more. Just elbow height or lower, elbow height, shoulder height or lower. Bring the arms down and now let everything relax. So check in with the neck, maybe take some stretching. You can roll around, you can go laterally here. Whatever feels good. From there, take your weights down to your floor. I might call these blocks today, forgive me. And tuck your toes under, shift back into a downward dog, holding on to the weights. Or you can put your hands down as you normally would on your mat if this is bothersome to the wrists or hands. Inhale, exhale. Inhale again. Exhale, we're going to lift the heels, drape the tail, round the low back, and we're rounding into plank pose. So we're going to articulate that spine and slowly, slower than you want to go, unfurl into a full plank without dropping the hips. Breathe here. This time, on an exhale, just go straight back to downward dog as you normally would. Lift the heels, round the spine, drop the head, articulate, round. Really use that deep core musculature in order to take you into that plank position and stabilize there. So the modification is to lower the knees and walk the blocks, I told you, weights back under your shoulders, or stay in your plank pose, walk your feet a little bit wider, and this time we're lifting and lowering one weight, doesn't matter which side, up and down by the side body. So again, something a little similar to what we were doing, but I always love to do this movement within plank. And back down, other side. lifting and lowering. And I think it's not that similar to what we were doing earlier because I'm thinking about when I did a video before and I actually had to delete that video. So no, only I did this one before, unless you did, and I don't know about it. 2 more. And last one, child's pose or downward facing dog. There's a little trick here. If your weights have a bigger base than mine, it's easier. But you put the weights long ways up, spread your fingers wide, knees wide, toes together, drop the heart down, and that will give you a back bend and a heart opener. Just breathing. If you had the weights up like that, lower them down, move your towel or blanket off to the side, and we'll be coming into the legs now. So I'm gonna move my weight into a 1 weight. So choose, let's all do 1. I'm gonna choose a 12. I would go 15 or lower. And if you're just starting, I would also maybe just use the 5 or less, okay? So take your feet just a little wider than sitting bone distance apart. If you have knee issues, you might go a little wider. And also, I want you to make sure that you're anchoring the heels. And when you hinge, you don't hinge so much the knees forward and then the hips follow, but rather the hinge of the hips happens and the knee bend follows, okay? So not over reaching the tailbone and not over tucking, okay? So from here, start to hinge those hips back. Move your weight kind of towards your feet and in front of the knees and come back up. That's it. So you can change this up and you can play with it. Oh, okay. As I was doing that, I realized, I kind of wanted a wider footed stance, and it's going to change how I'm feeling that in my leg, my glutes, my core, my leg, just one leg, my legs. And what you don't want to do is knock your weight against your knees. So you're taking the weight a little further forward, and that will actually make you work the core differently. Hinging at those hips, getting into the legs, the glutes, those larger muscle groups. And you don't have to take the weight all the way down towards the toes. You can take the weight part of the way and back up. So this is your practice and your body. So do not let anyone ever tell you what to do. If it doesn't feel right, guess what? It's not. 2 more. Last one. And pause and breathe. Okay, so I'm gonna go down on the weight and I'm gonna take it back to the 5 for this. What you're gonna do is you're gonna hold one side underneath and then the one side on top, okay? And you're just gonna hold that in front of you. So you've got one arm, one shoulder in internal rotation and one arm in external rotation. Because this is a long lever forward, this is very hard. You might start to feel it in the back and the core, and then we're just gonna slowly center it and then switch other hand on top. So you'll probably feel even the forearm having to work here on that underside, on the lower arm. I can't talk, this is too hard. And come back one more time, opposite hand on top. Try to reach it, maybe shoulder height. You'll really feel this, I'm sure, everywhere. Center, and other arm on top. Woo. And center. Now lower that down and soften the neck and shoulders, so ease that out. And then go for a little bit of heavier weight or stay exactly where you are. I'm gonna just go for a 10 here. And we'll go back into some tricep work like when we were in our plank pose. So take the weight overhead. Instead of letting the elbows splay out to the sides, draw them in, not so much so, but just that they're parallel. The upper arms and forearms are basically parallel. And then weight comes down and back up. So this could look like this, where I'm taking it down and up and just doing a little range of movement. Or it could be all the way down and up. If that bothers your elbows, especially if you have tennis elbow, any tendonitis going on, you're gonna want to not go all the way down, maybe just to 90 degrees. And slow is where it's at. So you can let the arms come a little forward of the ears, but not so much here. So do try to get the opening in the shoulders as well as the strengthening, not to destabilize, but just that you're actually actively thinking about the elbows going more up than forward. Last one. You're welcome. Slowly lower that weight down and put the weight down completely and roll the wrist, shake it out. Okay, so you can take your fingers and just pull them back gently and open the underside of the forearm, maybe even the thumb, and then do that on the other side. So because this is a fusion, we also want to get those stretches in, nurture the body as it does the hard work. Thumb, and shake it out. We'll do a sun salutation in between. So coming up to the top of the mat, inhale, reach up. Exhale, bend the knees any amount as you fold. Inhale, rise halfway up. Step or hop back into your plank pose, followed by maybe a vinyasa. You can come to chaturanga, which is where I am, and then up dog. Or you can go all the way to your mat and do a cobra, and then come to downward dog. Let's press the floor away from us and breathe. All right, so we're gonna play with some explosive movement here before we go into some more leg work. So take your feet a nice distance apart that you feel really comfortable in the legs and the hips. Then walk your hands closer in, bend the elbows out to the side, and do a little spring, but don't go anywhere. Spring, spring, spring. You'll feel triceps here a lot, okay? Now, if you want to spring up, you're going to practice lifting the heels, bending the knees, taking the hands much closer, and springing up, okay? Heels lift, press and spring. Press and spring. So this is bringing another element in, which is that explosive movement, which is so important for longevity and health. And you're keeping your heels up before you press back. They'll come down. Last one. And rise all the way to your mountain pose, breathing there. Grab one decently heavy weight. I'm gonna go with a 12 on this one. And you have a couple of options. And the first thing is don't use a weight, any weight at all, or a little weight. This is the first option. You're gonna take your left foot forward and your right leg back. You're in a split stance and you are wide enough apart left to right that you feel like you can balance, not on a tightrope. Bend the back knee. And some of us are gonna keep our weight right in front of us like this, elbows kind of underneath the wrists roughly. Okay, so you can stay there. If you want more, you're gonna reach the arms straight up. Breathing here, not leaning back. This is not we're not gonna take this in the low back. And we're just gonna do a little tiny slow lift and lower. And so again, we're not going for speed, but we are looking to stay kind of close to the ground with that back knee, not too far away, and really work the legs a lot. We want the legs to be talking to us, and especially if you have your weight above your head, your back and shoulders are gonna be strengthening as well, maybe saying a few choice words. Go to your breath. Your breath is number one, everything else comes behind the breath. Hold, knees, or back knee closer to the floor, breathe, 3, 2, 1. Weight to your heart. And step into a chair. Make sure you're careful with that low back. Straighten the legs and draw the weight down. Breathe. Okay. I'm sure you could see my trembling on this video. Other side, left foot comes back. Remember, you're not on that tightrope, you're on train tracks. Bend the back knee, stabilize. So you're starting with the weight just on that front leg, holding it. And then when you are ready in the legs, you'll take the weight either in front of the shoulders, holding here, or up without leaning back, and add that slow movement up and down. So this is not a movement that we do on a daily basis. Most of what I teach is stuff that we don't really do on a daily basis, just because I like to train the brain and the body to do things differently and to gain new neuropathways. But like we did at the start, if you do things with a little more weight like you're used to doing, then when you do them without weight, hey, it's much more simple. Slow up and down, breathing here. Trust yourself, find that layer of breath we talked about. And hold. 3, 2, 1. Weight in front of you, lean a little bit forward, stabilize the lumbar, a little bit of a chair, and straighten it all up. Oh, shake the legs out. Are we there yet? Did a little workout yesterday and didn't realize that my legs were gonna be noodles today. Hee hee. So roll your ankles out a little bit here, roll over the toes. And we'll come into a stretch for the front of the hips and the quads a little bit. If you want to hold onto a wall or a chair, feel free to do that. Pick one leg, bend the knee, and find yourself holding the front of the ankle or top of the foot. Draw the knee down, drape the tailbone down a little bit more to increase the stretch across the front of that leg. Breathing here. If you want to make this a balance pose, then find half of your prayer pose or a mudra at your heart. Use your drishti, use your focal point so you can balance better. That means just look a couple feet in front of you or across the room and shake it out. All right, other side, maybe using a wall. Stretch that out. Drape the tail any amount to increase what's happening as far as that stretch. Maybe finding one hand to the heart. And I notice that when I'm teaching and I look at the camera and I look away, I've lost my balance. Yes, the focal point is so key to that balance. And release it down. Shake it out. So we got the balance and we got the stretch. So grab 2 weights. Let's go light on these. Unless this is just part of your practice and you use weights all the time. We're gonna do a little bit of a sequence here. So what the sequence is gonna look like is, let's take the feet a little wider than sitting bone distance or hips distance apart, draw the weights down. We'll go back into the shoulders a little bit with a different pickup. So we're gonna draw the weights up towards the clavicle and back down. So that's just where we're gonna start, up and down. So we're just training the muscles and the joints to say, okay, this is the movement, get safe, find the breath for it. And then from here, we're gonna work the brain a little bit more. Both weights are gonna come up and then you're gonna choose one to go the rest of the way. Back down, both down, okay? Take the weights up to the clavicle, other one reaches up, back down to meet it, and down, both up. Extension. Back to meet it, all the way down. Up to the clavicle, one arm extension, back and down. So continue nice and slow. I love how deeply this gets into the shoulders. And notice you don't need heavy weights for this. And even if you used no weight at all, it would still be beneficial. All right, one more side. Oh, there, reach. And down, I was slacking. Let the arms hang again and come back into that neck, jaw connection, breath connection. All right, are we ready? So from here, go ahead and come into a mountain pose and lift your heels up. So you can take the feet together or not. The amount of weight you have is really up to you. We're working through the balance and the calves and the arches of the feet. And we're gonna do a slow calf raise, lifting and lowering. Like before in our split stance lunge, you have a choice on if you want to make this a little harder for stabilization, a little more core. You can stay with the arms down, of course. You can bring them up towards the shoulders. You can bring them in towards the shoulders, or you can reach them up straight above you like that split stance option. So this time, because you're holding 2 weights, you have to kind of stabilize them differently above you rather than just holding onto one. And the trick here is if you want to make it easier, let your weights touch above. It will be Harder if you have tight shoulders, but easier if your shoulders are open enough and it helps stabilize that weight above you. If you want a little harder, separate the weights above you. So I thought if I just kept talking, you guys wouldn't notice that your hamstrings, glutes, calves were burning, arches. I bet it didn't work. I can feel it. Come up and hold. 3, 2, 1. Lower the heels. Turn your weights in, underside of the forearms in, draw the elbows down, and lower the weights beside you. Shake that out. Place your weights down and just pick one leg and reach that heel, the back of the heel down. Other knee's gonna bend and it's kind of 45 degrees or a little more out. And then you can reach and put your hands on whichever thigh and reach your hips back. I like to put it on the bent knees thigh, reach through my toes and really stretch my hamstrings and calves and Achilles tendon after doing calf lifts. Breathe here. And you look like you're like, hello, my lady. Oh God, all right. This is my third video of the day. Don't judge, don't judge. All right, reach the heel down, toes up. That's right. How do you do? Just, if you're looking for a filter, there are so many amazing free yoga channels on YouTube that isn't this one. All right, stretch that out. Ooh, that feels good. And shake that out. Take 2 weights and let's go pretty decently heavy. I want you to feel like you're really working the biceps on these for the bicep curls. So I'm gonna go with just some 10s here and we'll just start a slow bicep curl up and down. Now you can take a split stance like this. Again, both legs are more straight than in our lunge if that feels better for your back. Slowly up and slowly down. In one of my other weight videos, I said time under tension was TTT. No, time under tension is TUT, so I apologize for that. Time under tension means if you were gonna do 10 reps just like this, you could do them fast and you would be doing them for a shorter time than if you were doing them slow. So this, we're gonna increase our time under tension by doing it slower. Doesn't mean that one's better than the other, they just have different results. And when you do it too fast, you might hurt your back or your shoulders. All right, we're gonna come up for a hold. Breathe here. And then we'll go to a 90 degrees where we're gonna hold again. Hold, soften the shoulders a little bit. So they're working, but you're not hiking them up. And then go really slowly all the way down. Good. Take the weights by your side. Go wider with your legs and maybe just take a little lateral and to the other side. If this bothers you with the weights, let go of the weights and do it without the weights. This is not a big range of movement and you're not going all the way down to the floor with the weight. And come back in. Nice. Goddess squat. Put the weights right there in your hands on your thighs to begin and really take a look at how you are positioning your feet and your knees so that they're pointed in the same direction. Don't open them so wide that you're on that tight wire again. Your hips are higher than your knees, not lower, okay? Press into the heels a little bit more if you're mostly in the ball joints. Open the knees a little bit wider out. Prepare. Take your arms, bend them, take the weights, one end of the weight towards your shoulders, and we're gonna do an asymmetric press. Now, on this one, we're not doing the press to the side yet. We're keeping the inner arm facing us, okay? So these little changes are really useful, and if this is too much for the hips, just come to standing and do the same movement in the arms or lift the hips higher than the knees, even more. All right, now we're gonna rotate forward and continue. And the elbow is actually going down by the side with these, so a little different than you might be used to. We're actually taking a bigger range of movement, and we're about to change that. Last one. All right, now lower the weights back to your legs, straighten the arms for a moment. Find your breath. So in order to carry on, sometimes we really need to just kind of check in, take a pause, recalibrate your system, maybe add an intention, and then here we go, back into that horse stance or goddess squat. This time elbows are gonna stay shoulder height and we'll alternate. So alternating is really, really good because the body has to stabilize differently than when you're doing something same side or at the same time with both sides. And then we're about to go into that because that's not bad, it's just different. We want to get both. And then press and back, press and back, just shoulder height, press and back, and only one more. And back, hold. I didn't tell you about the hold. And slowly straighten, lower the weights down. Oh, turn the toes forward, hang the weights, and relax the neck and the jaw. Move them to the floor and go wide with your legs and just go in a little circle here. Spin it out, let it go, let the fingertips go. You are using the grip a lot, so we want to let that completely relax. Lift alternate heel, right? So you're not torquing the knees and twisting at the knees. And then shake it out. Come to the other top of your mat. Breathe there, get a new perspective. Breath is first, everything else is secondary. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, raise halfway up. And you can step or hop back through a vinyasa of your choosing. You can skip these and go to downward dog or child's. And breathing either in that downward dog or child's pose. If you're in either, maybe walk the hands a little further forward by maybe a couple millimeters. Reach the hips a little further back. Lengthen here. Roll the shoulders gently away from the ears and soften the neck. And walking the hands back towards the feet. If you want to use that explosive movement, bend the knees, lift the heels, press down, and come on up. Find yourself in your mountain pose and shake it out. So we'll come into the legs here just a little bit more, and then we'll head down to the mat. So grab one weight, and we're going to hold it on, so left hand and left leg. Those are going to ground. Then the right leg is going to tap to the side and come back. The left knee is going to bend in order to help you take that right leg out to the side. Okay? So I'm mirroring you guys. Other hand to the waist. Remember to hinge the hips back a little bit more to get a little more in the glutes and root your standing legs heel a little bit more. You can stay nice and high up with this and very close with the legs, or you can really go for more. More doesn't mean better, by the way. More means different amount of work, and you need to do what feels right for you today. So there is, yes, an element of balance going on, an element of strength and flexibility, and of course that heart rate is getting kicked up. We want to tucker these glutes out and really ask them to do the work that they can do within reason. 2 more. Last one. Whew. Hold the weight in front of you, mountain pose, maybe close the eyes and breathe. So there are changes you're making. Obviously, the sweat on your skin, your heart rate, maybe the thoughts in your mind, your attitude. Your attitude might not be great while you're doing these sometimes, but maybe afterwards. All right, it's great if it's great the whole time. Other side. So you're gonna start small, tapping that left foot, bending that right knee. Your right arm stays straight. And what you're not trying to do is just put the weight down and just do this like a little tap out where you're just bending at the hips. No, we want The weight to come down, the chest to come more forward, and a big bend to happen in that standing leg. So you might be noticing about now that you have asymmetries in your flexibility, asymmetries in your strength. And the good news is you're not alone. We all have those. But it's really nice when they come into our consciousness and we can then really address them. So that's what I like to do a lot of times in private lessons when I'm teaching them, is work with people who are feeling differences side to side, and then we can offer different ways of movement that will eventually bring more balance to the whole system. Are we still doing this? One more after this one, and back. Hold the weight in front of you, mountain pose, and breathe. Relax the jaw, relax the shoulders. Okay, I told you we're coming down to the mat. Come on down, however it looks for you to get there. Leave your weight for a moment or set it in your lap and breathe. We're going to do a explosive movement that isn't so explosive that you throw your weight, okay? So I want you to do something that's not a super heavy weight, please. We're gonna first use this weight for a little bit of core work. Heels down, toes up, arches up. Open your heart, lean back, and rise up. So that's all we're doing, leaning slightly back and rising up. And you're not going too far down, and you're not curling. So, a little bit down, a little bit up. Then from here, if you want to add a lift, a turn, a center, and a back, a lift, a turn, a center, and a back. Feel free. So you can move your feet further forward if you need to get your legs a little bit more out of the way. This can also be done with straight legs, but the lean back is very slight, very, very slight. This is good for people who have hip flexor issues, pain in the hip flexors, or their hip flexors are really, really burnt out or tired, and they just need a break. One more time each side, if you're doing each side. All right, and we'll ease on down to the mat. Pause. You can place your weight to the side for a moment. Just breathe and get organized, so much so that the lumbar feels safe. You might rock forward and back with the pelvis a little bit to just ease out through that lumbar. And then we're going to take it and rock the tailbone up towards the ceiling so that the core musculature does draw back and the low back is on the floor. From here, we'll add that explosive movement within reason. So not getting any ideas here. Hold that weight above you, and we're just gonna go down and up. So instead of going time under tension, slowly like this, we are adding some explosive movement, pushing, push. And again, if this is too much weight, you're gonna choose something different. Or if having the elbows this wide and the wrists a different width bothers you, then do this with no weight, or maybe with 1 pound weights in each hand. Check in with that low back. This is core work too, so keep stabilizing there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it here. Breathe. If you have a smaller weight, I recommend a smaller weight or putting this weight down. Don't keep your arms straight. If you have any issues in the joints, put a little bend there. Keep the low back on the floor, reach that weight back. This is a lot. Hold, hover, and then bring it back. So this is 12 pounds. This is a lot for this movement. So low back towards the floor, arms back, maybe not as much, and all the way back up. If you want to make this a little easier, bend the elbows and back up, and keep the elbows bent the whole time rather than bending and straightening. This really gets into that upper back so much. And then, of course, the core, even the obliques working to keep the low back pushing towards the floor. Oop. And also, don't do what I just did. Don't hit your thumb behind you on the ground. Don't hit your fingers in between the weight and the floor. It's not pretty. And come all the way up. Draw the weight down. Place that weight to the side. And hug the knees in, rock side to side. Draw the right knee in, press the left knee out. Draw the left knee in, press the right knee out. And just go back and forth. Now press both knees in and out to the sides. And keep the hands on the kneecaps and press the knees away from you into the sides. Draw the knees in, soles of the feet towards the floor. Little baby bridge. So tuck your tail like you did earlier. Arms can go where you want them. I like to kind of cactus here with my palms facing. And then peel the lumbar off of the mat and just lift the pelvis a bit. Breathing here. You can stay here or lift the pelvis a little higher. Maybe scooch the shoulder blades slightly more underneath. Arms come up and back. So this time, no weight. Inhale is here. Exhale, arms down by the side. So I noticed that my right arm, which is my dominant arm, was going faster than my left. You might pay attention to which arm is leading. Does it stay the same? Is it different? Can you try to keep them going at the same speed? Opening the shoulders, working those legs, glutes, hamstrings. And exhale, this is the last time. The arms will come all the way down. Pelvis down, knees in, rock side to side. And this time you can either cross the ankle to the knee or cross one knee over the other and bring it all in. So that could look like interlacing in front of the knee and drawing in, or just wrapping what can wrap around, or crossing and drawing in. For those of you who are a little more advanced, you might grab the outside of the feet, draw the shins a little more parallel and towards the shoulders as the tailbone reaches away. I am not feeling advanced today. So, especially with all of the glute work that I sometimes teach, this is a doozy of a stretch. Unwind into happy baby pose, either hands on the knees, outer shins, ankles, or feet, breathing. And then whichever glute stretch you chose on the first side, whether it's crossing partially or crossing all the way and hugging it in, choose that. Oh, see, this side's even tighter. Come on. Reach the tailbone away. I'm not one of those yoga teachers who just wakes up and just whoosh, drops into the joints and can do all that. No, it takes a lot of work. Breathing. And happy baby, wherever you can reach on the legs. And then from here, optional quad stretch. Now, either you can come onto your belly, and this is the last kind of stretch before Shavasana. You can come here or down and just reach the heel to the sitting bone and do both sides. If you're a little bit more open in the hips and ankles and the knees are okay, you can do this really awkward one, and you might want to just watch first. Heels come to the outside of the hips, and the toes are tucked. Then the pelvis lifts and the knees reach forward. Then there's a scooch of the shoulder blades underneath like you did in your bridge pose. This is why we did that to prepare. Walk the feet a little closer in, but the heels are still towards the sides of the hips. Knees go down and forward. They're not going to touch the floor. They are just actively reaching there. Breathe. And then what I like to do is lift one knee as high as it'll go up and press the other knee as far as it'll go forward and down and in. Woo. And then switch that side. Other knee up, other knee forward, down, in. Again, down means the direction. It doesn't mean that it's touching the floor. And then back to center for a reach. Tuck the tail any amount. And then slowly lift the heels high, knees high. Pelvis comes down and walk the legs forward here. For your twist, you can choose any twist that feels right to you at this point. Maybe the knees just stack and you take the knees to one side, unfurling the other arm into a cactus or a straight arm. Do less work. Draw back through center line, and whichever twist you chose on the first side, choose it on the second side. Don't you hate when you leave a weight in the way of your twist and you have to pick up another weight? Breathing in your twist. So when you did all those weights, you had to really work hard, and now is the opposite of that. Let that go. Come back through your center line and set up for your Shavasana. And I want you to stay there as long as you possibly can. Maybe you'll put a rolled up blanket under your knees or legs up the wall. But your Shavasana is the complement to your workout. The effort needs to be balanced with ease or you will burn out. We've all been around ourselves and someone else when we're frazzled or they're frazzled. It means there's not been enough time for the ease and the balance. So the system can't find that sort of beautiful calibrated place. So do give yourself the rest. Do give yourself time to heal and take time off. I'm going to be offering a course I'm very excited about. This is the first time I'm saying it. It's going to be called, well, this is the first time that this actual course is going to be coming out. It's Muscle Meets Mindful, and it'll be pretty brilliant in the way that I just talked about as far as offering balance to your life and your body on all levels. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for being here. Please, if you got anything out of this video, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything that you have questions about, anything that you want me to make a video about, or just any concerns. Thanks so much. Namaste.